what we'll see in 2024 and how these trends are going to impact enterprise strategies in the future. So I'm going to cover these topics. We're going to talk about cloud security. I'm sure everyone's heard about artificial intelligence and machine learning. Talk about some of the threats that have been prevalent this year, including CEO and owner executive fraud, ransomware attacks. And one topic that I touched on earlier, which I think is super, super important, is really talk about the demand for skilled cybersecurity talent. So first and foremost, I think cloud security is a pretty big topic. We've gone back and forth around cloud adoption. And, you know, the consensus is cloud adoption is going to continue to accelerate, and it's going to accelerate beyond 2023. More businesses have adopted cloud computing software. There's been what I call the pandemic effect. There's been a growing number of remote workforce. And we, as organizations that build solutions, we need to ensure that our customers are finding ways to mitigate threat as these threats can impact their organization. And as they want to adopt the digital transformation model, we need to make sure that they are protected. Now, Gartner has put out their forecast around spending on what public cloud services is forecasted to grow, and it's about 22%. So about 600 billion in 2023, and that number is up from about 491 billion last year. Also, Gartner is saying, hey, 75% of organizations are going to adopt a traditional transformation from a traditional to a digital transformation model, and that's really predicated on cloud being that fundamental, underlying platform. But as the cloud adoption grows, so does the number of cloud-focused attacks. And according to IBM, last year, 45% of breaches were cloud-based. So, you know, we want to encourage our customers and organizations to move to that digital transformation model, but we want to be able to do that, help them do that safely. Most of the cloud breaches that we saw this year were really based on a couple things. Lack of an effective cloud governance model, which I'm going to talk about here shortly. Reduced visibility, not being able to really see the applications and data and other things that are in the cloud. And some of it is human error as well. And that includes cloud misconfiguration, compromised credentials, unauthorized access, insecure interfaces. All of these things are common issues that have been a reason for these cloud breaches. You know, when we encourage customers to develop, you know, a cloud transformation model, you know, first and foremost, a governance model is the best way to ensure that the organization can meet current and emerging cloud-based security threats. And a governance model in place can manage the whole entire data lifecycle in the cloud. That includes building a data classification scheme, setting policies for data, especially policies at different levels of sensitivity. You would want stronger policies in place for your more sensitive data, ensuring that all data is encrypted, whether it's resting in storage or whether it's in transit. These are all important pieces of a cloud governance model. A couple organizations that are considering moving into the cloud and adopting cloud, um, the recommendation that I would give would be, hey, have a thorough risk assessment performed. Really understand what your cloud model looks like, or should look like as you're moving to adopt the cloud. Um, Make sure that there are risk mitigation strategies are defined and in place, because really a strong governance model with policies that are established can really, really help as companies are transitioning to the cloud. And organizations that have cloud now can go and validate their governance model and make improvements if needed. The next topic is really an interesting one. Artificial intelligence, machine learning. I think everybody's kind of aware. If you're in the movies and you've watched The Terminator, I think everybody knows that the Skynet prediction. And the question is it really coming true? And what that really means is highly advanced computer systems that use artificial intelligence, if they become self-aware, what does that really mean? And with the cybersecurity landscaping becoming more complex and challenging, AI can be good or it can be bad. And it depends on really kind of who you talk to. As criminals are constantly evolving their tactics, exploiting new vulnerabilities, they can use AI. But companies who adopt AI can also use it to combat all the rapidly changing threats that are happening in the environment. So really, what is AI, or what is machine learning? If you think about AI, think of it as a really super smart computer program that can do things that people usually do: solve problems, understand patterns. It's like having a digital assistant that can learn new tasks and become smarter over time, just like a human would. And then if you add machine learning, that think of that as helping this digital assistant learn and improve. So, instead of telling an assistant exactly what to do, machine learning kind of allows itself to figure things out on its own and then implement those. So, technology that will use AI and ML, it will be able to learn how attacks work, and create barriers automatically, create algorithms to detect threats and be more adaptive. So artificial intelligence and machine learning can really help businesses revolutionize their security posture, help detect and prevent, respond to threats more effectively, improve threat detection, enhance their incident response, and remediate, even help predict and prevent cyber attacks. So, organizations right now that use AI and automation actually are saving themselves money, and it costs $3 million less than an organization that doesn't have any cybersecurity AI or automation. So really, it's good versus bad. It's kind of new still, but the good is AI and AI powered solutions can strengthen a company's security posture, and the bad is it can also be used for malicious purposes as well. So we'll have to really kind of keep an eye on this. It's worth noting that President Biden signed an AI executive order, I think a couple days ago or a day ago. And this executive order is really intended to modify how users use AI. and how humans use AI. And so thinking about this order, hopefully the idea to make AI safer, more secure, more trustworthy, this is really the first step in us really kind of learning about AI and how it can help our customers. Executive fraud is another trend that kind of we're seeing in the space. Also known as kind of business email compromise. The FBI reported about 26 billion in losses for companies worldwide. And what really is CEO or executive fraud? It's the type of cybercrime where attackers can impersonate a company executive in order to trick an employee or someone with access to sensitive data or financial uh, assets, basically, and trick that employee or person into sending an unauthorized wire transfer form or divulging personal or sensitive information. There are several different types of fraud. Phishing, which I think everybody's kind of heard of, where you receive a fraudulent email or website and the hackers put in something malicious, install malicious software, and that's really meant to steal data. There's vishing, which is, think of it as voice, right? Fraudulent phone call that convinces you to reveal personal information over the phone. And then something new called smishing, which is pretty much the same, just a different medium, and that would be through text messages. A fraudulent text message sent meant to steal data or personal information. So really, how does executive fraud work? So you have a cyber criminal, they'll gather information about their victim, they will pose as a genuine person, build trust with, say, an employee in HR or finance, and then the criminal will execute an attack through phishing or vishing or smishing, and then that cyber criminal gets that information, steals that data, and they can quickly end the attack and cover all traces of the attack. So it's something that has become more and more prevalent. One of the things is educating employees to help prevent the phishing, vishing, smishing, and recognize a potential fraud attack. If you're receiving an email and there's a sense of urgency to do something like divulge sensitive information or transfer money, always verify. If you're unable to verify, that is a potential red flag. If they are requesting confidentiality or saying, hey, I can't be reached once we do this, I'm going to be unavailable, that's always a red flag. If there are mismatches, variations in the sender's email or URL, those are all kind of red flags to potentially recognize a potentially fraudulent attack. As we're talking about different types of attack, there is another trend that we're seeing, and that's ransomware attacks. These are becoming increasingly common as well. According to Cyber Ventures, $20 billion was lost in 2021. And it's expected to increase, tenfold, 265 billion by 2031. The ransomware attack is something very similar. It's a cyber attack where a criminal can infiltrate a business or an organization and encrypts that organization's data and then demand a ransom payment to decrypt it or return those systems back to the company. Ransomware can disrupt operations, damage the company's reputation, really lead to financial losses. And so bad guys create these ransomware themselves. They can buy it from other criminals. And criminals use, again, social engineering to gain access to a company's network or system. And then they use that malware to encrypt, digitally encrypt the IT system or data. And then the attackers use that encrypted sensitive data as leverage to force you to pay a ransom. And oftentimes, that ransomware criminal is using phishing, which we just spoke about, to trick victims into opening a malicious attachment. And there's a lot of ransomware attacks also that use a type of malware, and provides the criminal everything they need to launch an attack. And it makes it easier for criminals to launch this attack. They're actually creating a ransomware as a service platform and building these platforms, and driving the growth of these attacks. So organizations, all shapes, all sizes, large and small, really should implement strong security controls, firewall, intrusion detection systems, data encryption. All these things help prepare against potential attacks. And again, educating employees about phishing and phishing, smishing, ransomware attacks, how to spot a phishing email is really another good step to minimize risks of attacks. And lastly, one of the things that I think is also super important here is the demand for security talent is higher, it's greater than ever, due to this evolving threat landscape with these attacks and other things and new technologies. It's getting more and more difficult to detect and defend, and organizations don't have the potential workforce to keep up with that demand. Cyber ventures, again, in this year, there was a shortage of over 3.5 million cybersecurity professionals worldwide. The shortage really has been driven by, I think, a couple of factors. Obviously, the increasing rise of cyber attacks, the growing use of cloud computing, which we talked about, the rising number of remote workers, and just overall professionals not having the right skills and certification and kind of robust experience. Talent is really needed across the board to protect organizations from ransomware attacks, data breaches, phishing scams. There's across all industries, whether it's healthcare, finance, government, technology. These are all important industries that need to be protected. I think there are different areas where cybersecurity talent is on demand, whether it's product development or management, technical marketing, engineering, architecture. It grows across the board. Security operations, data science, information technology. These are all areas where not just basic technical knowledge is needed, but skills, soft skills, and what we talk about earlier about passion to learn and problem solving and logical reasoning, attention to detail. All of these skills are super important. As I talked about in the last call, becoming certified, looking at different certification is a great way to get the skills that you need. Staying updated, reading industry publications and websites, subscribing to newsletters, attending conferences and workshops, and following large technology and development, product development companies on social media. These are all really great ways. Cyber professionals is in great demand, helping customers and companies identify and mitigate threats, develop and implement security policies and procedures, even helping train other employees on the best practices. These are all the things that's definitely needed. So, just kind of to wrap up, I think there are, a lot of trends out there that certainly exist. And we just talked about kind of 5 that we'll hear more about for the, we're ending this year, 2023, but we'll definitely hear more about in 2024. Again, for companies that want to adopt cloud, a governance model really is needed to ensure that it's the cloud that they're adopting is currently meeting these emerging cloud-based security threats. Companies should continue to evaluate their cybersecurity defenses and determine if AI and machine learning technologies are best suited for them. Even if they are, and if they are needed or not needed, that's the best way to kind of adopt some of these newer technologies. CEO fraud, ransomware, encouraging companies to put security solutions in place to proactively protect users against phishing attempts and phishing and smishing and all of these new threats that are happening in our space. And really, getting cyber and hiring cybersecurity professionals to protect the companies, protect themselves from cyber attacks. Those are all kind of the trends that we're seeing. I think I've got about a few minutes left. And so I think we've got time for a couple questions, if we have any.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. One of the questions that came over the chat earlier that I thought might be of interest was
Okay.
how it's not just corporations, but local governments and nonprofits and churches that are being
Yes.
phished now. So the
Mm-hmm.
targets are changing. Do you want to talk
Yes.
about that a little bit?
Yes. One of the things that we're seeing is that anyone that has personal or sensitive data, they are a target. Small company, large, company, medium size, doesn't matter. Anything that has credit card numbers, social security numbers, any company that has data of value, they're at risk. One of the things that is super important is that even churches and some of these nonprofits and companies, they it's so important that they stay up to speed and abreast of like what's going on. For everybody who has a device, an iPad, a computer, when there is an update, make sure you're updating your devices, you're putting those security things in place to protect themselves. That's really key. A lot of us kind of ignore our updates, and that's gets us into trouble. So I highly recommend everybody going out there and reading the
Guilty
bulletin.
as charged.
Yes.
Well, it doesn't look that there are other questions on the chat.
Okay.
But thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. We're running out of time. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Hopefully, if there are any questions that come up later, I can be reached in social media or through the event. Thank you.